What is going on, Schwayze gang? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, in today's video, we're comparing the exhaust between the Scat Pack and the Hellcat. So the reason we are in the back end of the Scat Pack and the Hellcat is not just because, well, how can you say no to that back end? But in all seriousness, in today's video, we're going to be comparing the exhaust of the brand new 2020 Hellcat Widebody versus the 2017 Scat Pack. Now, the reason I want to make today's video is not just because I'm curious myself to figure out which one is louder between the two, but also to inform you guys and let you know exactly how loud you can get the Scat Pack without doing too much or pouring too much money into it. Now, if you guys have been a long-time subscriber, you will remember that the Scat Pack over here does not have the stock exhaust system. I actually replaced the mid-mufflers, or the mufflers, it's really the same name, they're just halfway into the car. I replaced the mid-mufflers with Dynomax Race Bullets, which are just a different type of muffler that you can swap out. I'll put the video from about a year ago on the screen right now so you guys can go check out that video and see the before and after from the stock exhaust versus the Dynomax, whereas this 2020 Hellcat Widebody has the stock Hellcat exhaust system. Now, I do want to make some changes to this one. I'm debating on exactly what that's going to be. I'm definitely going to keep the resonators, and I'm not planning on doing anything with the catalytic converter. So really the only option is doing something with the muffler, whether that's cutting it out entirely or replacing it with like a glass pack or the Dynomax Race Bullets like in this scenario. So I'm actually really curious to see if the stock Hellcat is actually louder at startup and a wide open throttle than the 2017 Scat Pack with the Dynomax Race Bullets. I have a feeling the Dynomax is actually louder just based on my experience with starting these cars over the last month. This one is pretty loud when you start it, but the thing about the Hellcat, and I'm not sure if this is just specific to the 2020 model or if this has been from day one, from 2015 onward, but the Hellcat actually starts up a little quieter and then it gradually increases in sound. And so it's a little bit of an interesting type of startup versus the Scat Pack, which as soon as you turn it on, it's super loud and then it kind of goes down and becomes a little bit quieter. So I don't know if that's a difference between the model years or if that's just a Hellcat thing, but this car definitely starts up a little bit differently than this one. And this one, I'm not gonna lie, still scares me when I start it up. So we'll see what happens between the two. So I'm actually just gonna be using a phone app in today's video. This one in particular is Decibel X. And I like it because it actually gives you the max decibels at a certain point in time. So that way, if I'm not able to pause it at the point where I do the actual startup, I can see what the loudest peak was. And not that I'm saying this is very accurate, but what's nice is since I'm going to be using this for both the Hellcat and the Scat Pack, it doesn't really matter. It'll just let me know which one is louder. So not to say this is an accurate decibel meter, but this will give me some sort of consistency so that I know which one is louder between the two. So let's get started with the test. Let me know in the comments below what you think is going to be louder before we jump into it, because I'm curious to see what people think. I'm actually going to start with the Hellcat because I think it's going to be a little bit quieter as compared with the Scat Pack. But I guess the app will tell us the real difference between the two. One thing to note though, I drove the Hellcat about 24 hours ago, so it has been sitting for about 24 hours, so the cold start should be pretty cold, especially since it's been around 20 degrees at night. Versus the Scat Pack, now this car hasn't been driven in about 5 days. So the cold start may be a little bit louder on this car because of that, although engine and exhaust temperature wise, they should be about the same since they're in the exact same garage, regardless of when the last time I drove them. They've had plenty of time to cool off. But I did want to put that disclaimer out in the video so you guys are aware the difference in time between when this one was started up and when this one was started up. Now, to keep things constant between the two cars, I am lining this up about 1 foot from the rear bumper, and I've lined it up in the middle of the license plate. So we're gonna do the exact same thing with the Scat Pack. We're also going to keep the garage closed so that it can resonate the sound in and out. Hopefully I won't die of asphyxiation, but we'll see what happens. So I'm kind of risking my life for doing this video, but that's just the level of effort that I go through to make videos on YouTube. So now that we have it in position, let us move the measuring tape and let's do the cold start. All right, in 3, 2, 1. right, so as you can see in that video, the peak was 101 decibels. We quickly opened up the garage to let it vent through, but we're about to run that exact same test on the Scat Pack and see what happens. One thing to note, thanks to Google, I looked up what 101 decibels compares to in real life. From 101 to 105 decibels, well, that's about as loud as a school dance. That's kind of anticlimactic. Although I did see elsewhere that 101 decibels is around the same range as like a loud concert and very close to an MP3 player at the highest volume, which also isn't very impressive. So we're definitely gonna be making this Hellcat louder, but let's see if it's worth doing the Dynomax and see how much louder it actually is. All right, so now we've positioned the phone exactly the same distance, about 1 foot from the edge of the bumper and about halfway into the license plate. So let's move the measuring tape and let's see how loud the Scat Pack really is. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so not sure if you guys saw that, and it's actually already cleared out, but it was 99 decibels, which is crazy because the Hellcat was 101, and yet this thing startles me so much more than the Hellcat does. I'm honestly a little bit confused, but I know that I'm using the exact same app. I've kept it the exact same distance. It's the exact same temperature all around. And in fact, this one has been off for a longer period of time. And yet it was 99 decibels versus 101. I'm not really quite sure what to make of that. I'm not sure if the camera caught it, but the Scat Pack definitely sounds a little bit louder. It even sounds a little bit more throaty. And maybe that's why it sounds louder to me, is because it's got more of an old school muscle car. Old school muscle car type of sound to it, whereas this one maybe sounds more like a high performance or a sports car. I don't know, but I definitely like the sound of the Scat Pack more. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below as to why this one sounds louder than this one. So now what we're actually gonna do is take it out for a drive, both of them, and see which one is louder inside of the cabin. Now, as much as I would love to attach that decibel meter on my phone to the exhaust tips and let you know what the sound is really like at wide open throttle and which one is louder, unfortunately, I am not going to do that because phones these days are like $1,000 and I'm not about to spring $1,000 on one video. Unfortunately, I just can't do it. I can't spend that much money, but I will give you guys a comparison inside of the cabin at wide open throttle to see which one is actually louder. I still think this car is a lot louder than the Hellcat, but obviously I'm wrong because the decibel meter is the exact same and it counted the Hellcat as louder. So let's see what it sounds like at idle, at wide open throttle, inside the cabin. All right, so here are the decibels at idle. Looks like it's at 85 decibels max. All right, so this is what the Scat Pack sounds like at idle. Looks like the peak is 81.1 decibels. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the Hellcat right now, as you can see with the SRT badge right there. And we're actually gonna test out what this car sounds like at wide open throttle. Just so you know, we are about mid-temperature right now, so this car always runs a little bit colder than the Scat Pack did, just something to know. But we're actually gonna test this out in regular mode, and then we're going to do the same thing in track mode. So let's see how loud it is in regular auto mode. I will show you what auto mode actually looks like in my car. It's 717 horsepower, but everything else is in street mode except for the paddle shifters. And we've got the phone positioned right here so that I can see what it's going to sound like once the engine is running. So let's hit the road and see what the auto mode sounds like inside of the cabin. All right, so we got it up to 78.5 decibels. We're actually gonna put it in track mode now, which opens up all of the valves inside the exhaust, and then we're gonna see how loud it is after that. All right, that was pretty scary, but we got it up to 83.5 decibels, which is pretty impressive considering the car outside at cold start was 101 decibels. It's not a huge difference between the two. All right, so now we are in a very familiar place. We are in the Scat Pack, as you can tell by the Dodge emblem. And well, the speedometer does not go up to 200 miles an hour, just 180 here. But we're actually at regular operating temperature. As you can see, this one runs a little bit warmer than the Hellcat, like I mentioned before. But we've got the climate control off, just like in the Hellcat. Now we're gonna leave this car in default mode. There's not very many modes in the Scat Pack versus the Hellcat, where you've got the auto, the custom, the sport, the track. This one's just sport and default, so we're gonna set it up with the default mode, which, as you can see, my default mode setup is steering wheel in comfortable, the paddle shifters are on, traction control is normal, and the engine is also in normal. So let's see how loud it gets on the decibel meter. All right, we got the decibel meter set up in the exact same spot as in the Hellcat. We're about to accelerate, and let's see how it sounds in default mode. All right, so we got it up to 78.7 decibels in the default mode. Let's put it in the sport mode and see how loud it gets. All right, so in both tests of the sport mode, we actually got it almost exactly the same as the default mode. It went from 78 point something to 78, then the second run in sport mode was 77.5. So definitely a bigger difference between the auto mode in the Hellcat and the track mode in the Hellcat versus the default mode and the sport mode in the Scat Pack. That may have something to do with the Dynomax Race Bullets, but regardless, there is a noticeable difference between the Hellcat more so than the Scat Pack. All right, boys and girls, well, this video went the exact opposite of what I expected it to be in multiple ways. The first being the fact that the Hellcat is actually louder than the Scat Pack with the Dynomax Race Bullet in pretty much every single mode. From cold start to wide open throttle in default mode or the auto mode in the Hellcat, to the wide open throttle in the track and sport mode in both cars, and even at idle. So in every single scenario, the Hellcat was louder than the Scat Pack. The other thing that surprised me was the Scat Pack in default mode was pretty much the same, if not louder, than the Scat Pack in sport mode, which was really weird. And I still can't really make sense of that. Maybe it's the Dynomax Race Bullets, maybe it's something else. I have no clue. But regardless, I am totally shocked for both of those things going the opposite of what I expected them to be. This car to me sounds so much louder and so much throatier than the Hellcat, and I was absolutely confident that this car was gonna be quieter. So I don't even know what to make of this video. That means this car already sounds louder. So do I make it even louder and annoy my neighbors even more? I don't know. I'm probably gonna do it because it just doesn't sound throaty enough to me. It sounds much more tame, and this is a Hellcat. It's supposed to sound like a beast, and that's what this car sounds like. So I'm probably gonna do something to this car regardless of how loud the decibels are. And it'll be interesting to see how much louder it gets once I do something to the exhaust in the next couple months. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video as I did. I'm curious to see what your guys' comments are, and maybe you guys can run the same tests on your cars and let me know what kind of decibels you guys are reading on your cars and what kind of exhaust setup you have. But all in all, these are pretty much the exact same, with this one being the stock Hellcat exhaust system and this one having the Dynomax Race Bullets. So you can't really go wrong. But if you guys want to make your Scat Pack sound just as loud as a Hellcat, well, all you got to do is just swap out with those Dynomaxes, and I promise you will not regret it. But thank you so much for watching today's video. Like always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. I hope to get there in the next few months, and with your support, we can make that happen. Like always, find me on Instagram at Schwazy_, where I post awesome photos of the Hellraisin Hellcat, and you guys can go back and see some old photos of the Destroyer Gray Scat Pack. But until next time, stay healthy, stay schwazy, and have a wonderful day.